and you could say the same exact thing to a man of like, oh, you're actually cute. I don't think someone would like say that.
I would to a guy.
You said that to me, Gina.
I knew you for a while, Keith, before I said you were cute.
Are cute. And you know what else, Keith? I was noticing that you're pretty intelligent for a cute guy.
Hey, Warners, welcome to Women Your Mother Warned You About,
the podcast that makes business sexy again. I'm Rachel Pitts, mom, wifey, and loan officer with U.S. Mortgage.
Ooh, it almost sounded like you were going to sing that, singing lender.
Just made it up right now.
One day you'll sing us a song, because you have to. And everybody, I'm Gina Trimarco, founder and sales trainer at Pivot10 Results and Carolina Improv. And we've got the man about town with us today, Mr. Walters.
Hi, ladies.
Hi, Keith.
What a great show today.
Yeah, I'm super glad that we were able to get Laura Casselman on today. I met her, golly, so everything leads back to Legends in Concert in my life. So I met Laura for the first time at Legends in Concert. I'm trying to remember which time it was that I came back that she worked with me. And she moved on. And then we stayed in touch. And then years later, I worked for her company for a while, JVZoo. But she and I have known each other a long time. Oh, and I used to be her personal trainer when I was working with you as a business coach, Gina. She was one of my loyal clients. And actually, when I was training her, it was during her transition from a whatever her position was prior to CEO. So I was actually in on a lot of stuff that she was working her way through as she shifted into CEO position. So that was really interesting.
What were some of your takeaways from this show?
Pretty sure the biggest takeaway everybody's going to take is if you want something, you must ask for it.
Yeah. I think that was a really big one. What do you think, Keith?
Oh, I agree. That's one of the ones that I wrote down, and it's what I see all the time. And I think it's what, one of the comments she has in one of her writings is, we're battling centuries of social constructs that tell us to be quiet. And so it's kind of the opposite of that. Don't be quiet. Ask for what you want.
I especially liked when she said, play the game until you get into the position to change the rules.
Yeah. That's
pretty powerful.
Yeah, that is.
I think the other, the overarching thing that I saw that we didn't really touch too much on is that I've seen this with a lot of successful entrepreneurs. The really successful entrepreneurs are the ones who were like, they had businesses when they were children.
Yep. I think there is a consistent theme there.
Yeah, I was thinking that when she was talking about it, I was wondering, hey, is that something that is born? Because I was like that when I was a kid. I had, I would like type people's papers when I had one of the first word processors and sew their point shoes and all that stuff. I think that entrepreneurship can be learned, but I think some of us are born with that inherent desire to get out and do something when it's not available to us. We just come up with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think some of it probably comes from watching your parents, but I have siblings who had the same parents that don't have the same drive.
Yeah.
Same.
I think it's a combination for sure. But Laura's pretty cool. So let's give a little bit of background on her for people who don't know who she is. She has scaled businesses to multiple 7 and 8 figures, which is pretty cool. Her track record speaks for itself and is exactly why she's become one of the most sought-after speakers in her field internationally. She has 17 years experience in taking businesses to the next level, both as an executive and as an entrepreneur, building her own companies. Her true specialty lies in identifying and implementing the most up-to-date strategies to create real measurable business results, and her commitment to this is evident to every individual that meets her. And I think Rachel could probably really speak to that really well because you've worked with her so much that you've really been able to see those things.
Yeah, there's so much to her, and it's interesting because she talks about people diminishing her a little bit because she's a female, because she's a drop dead gorgeous female. She's incredibly smart, sharp. She is, and this one thing it fascinates me about her. She's a speed reader. Her mother was a speed reader and she's a speed reader, and she'll read multiple books a week. Like it's really interesting, that skill. But she's super creative. She's passionate about growth in all aspects from personal to professional life. And she likes to share those skills and strategies from anybody that can implement them, because she loves growth for women and everyone. And she is the CEO of JVZoo, which go check it out, jvzoo.com. It's a global technology provider that drives online sales. And she has built and engaged a profitable team by creating a collaborative working environment. And this is true. When I worked there, it's very collaborative and open. It's very interesting. She made some powerful changes when she became CEO. She accomplished a 7-time increase in the customer satisfaction rate. Whoops, I think I messed that up. Oops, I'm reading it. I got busted on reading. She accomplished a 7-time increase in revenue in the company, taking JVZoo from 100 million to 750 million, while maintaining an incredible customer satisfaction rate of more than 90%. See, I wanted to get that 7 times correct. She is a recipient of multiple business awards, including CEO Achievement of the Year Award, CEO Awards of 2018, and tons of leading publications, including Forbes and Entrepreneur. LauraCasselman.com is where you can find out more about her, and watch her highlight reel at the Laura Casselman on Instagram. She does have great photos. She's got a great stylist that helps her look fabulous.
And let's not forget our amazing sponsor, DermaVogue, that is bringing this show to you today. DermaVogue.com, keeping Rachel and I prettier than we already are. And I'm sure if Keith wanted to be prettier too, he could be, but we take advantage. He's cute.
He's cute. He could be even cuter.
I wouldn't want to compete with you ladies who look so beautiful, so I'll have to.
So anyway, let's get started with this episode with Laura Casselman.
Laura, welcome to Women Your Mother Warned You About. We are so happy to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
So excited to have you. I've met you.
Yes.
Once or twice or 3 times, but we've been talking about having you on the show for so many reasons.
Yeah, I think in one of our very first meetings, I said, okay, Laura Casselman, she's a powerful CEO, powerful female advocate, extraordinaire, and amazing woman. We just never got around to, I knew you always have a busy schedule like everybody, but appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely. It's one of my goals in this 2020 is not to be on an airplane more than I'm actually in the office and at my home and at work. So less travel for 2020.
Travel's good though. It looked, from those of us on the outside, it looked very fun and exciting. And I know it can be really stressful.
I mean, isn't that what, social media is though? It's your highlight reel. And so that's what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to look fun and exciting. And it is. I love to travel. I love to see the world. But at the end of the day, I was in 11 countries last year and 16 states. And it's hard. It takes away from more and more of your sleep and more of your personal time when you're always traveling to be face to face with people.
Absolutely. Hey, when I'm done with this podcast, what I am a part of my plan of my day is I'm meeting up with a Girl Scout mom to pick up the cookies that I ordered. Because this year you order them and they have them right away. Can you believe it?
Love it.
So I want to start off with a great story that Laura once told me when I was in the office with her. I worked for JVZoo at one time, and she told this great story about when she was young and how she conquered the Girl Scout cookie scene. So can you tell us a little bit about how you crushed that sales experience, Laura?
Certainly. Well, I never met a stranger. So I, even as a child, was always 100% mouth. My dad used to call me mouth because I was always talking and always saying hello. But sales came very naturally to me because I wasn't scared to interact with people. And with the Girl Scouts, I so badly wanted to win and get my badge and, our troop to be the best. So in selling cookies, I realized that my circle was very small. Now I'm from a small town, one stoplight, but when I ran out of the people that I saw, like my family, my grandparents, people at church, I didn't have anyone else to sell to. So I went home. We had the phone that you had to do the big circle and dialing the numbers. But I pulled out the phone book and I just started dialing every single person in the phone book. And I would sell them Girl Scout cookies.
Oh, old school.
Old school
So
all the
old
way.
school.
But I just was going alphabetically down the phone book. So eventually I got to parents of the women or the girls in my troop. And they would say, well, Laura, my daughter is in your troop. And I would just say, well, of course I know that. But what cookies did you buy from Amy? And she would tell, the mom would tell me, and I would say, but have you tried these and these? And don't you want us to win? Don't you want our troop to win? So I would just basically guilt their parents into buying more cookies for me. And, it worked. People bought more cookies from other kids in their own child's troop, and it was great. But Rachel, I was thinking about this too. I also grew up across the street from a golf course, and I used to go set up a chair on the number 4 tee box and sell mulligans. Like I would sell mulligans for $1. And of course, the men would come up playing golf and they would start laughing because they're like, who's this kid sat here selling mulligans? And then they'd have a bad shot. And I'd say, you want that mulligan now? And so, I just was all about sales always. I started a grass cutting business in my neighborhood when I was I think in the 2nd or 3rd grade. I was teaching gymnastics before I could even drive my car. Anywhere there was an opportunity to work, I wanted to work. I always wanted to, earn my own income. I was so proud of that. And I think a lot of people take that away from their kids now because they're like, oh, we just want them to focus on school. Yeah, I focused on school too. My parents had set criteria for my grades and I would get in trouble, but they didn't take away work from me if I got in trouble. They took away the things I loved, like, dance or piano or something, playing with my friends. They never took away work.
Right. And the example, this woman that I'm meeting to buy the Girl Scout cookies for, she had a Facebook post about buying from her kids. And I messaged her and I said, I will buy Girl Scout cookies from any kid, but I will not ever buy them from the mom. So I made her, well, she was like, well, it's all online. I said, that's great. And I want you to have your daughter call me on the phone and ask for the sale. And we had this big discussion about it. And she was like, that's pretty cool because the daughter was terrified to call me. She called, she had to leave a message because I was in the middle of something. And I called her back and then I let her sell me. And afterwards I gave her props and said, I'm an easy sale. I'll always buy the cookies. And if you can get over that fear that hits us all when we try to make a sales call, if you get over that at a young age, you're going to be successful. And I think that's part of what the Girl Scouts was probably trying to instill in girls like yourself.
Absolutely. And I think
especially for girls.
Agreed. And I think one thing people don't realize is that if you learn to sell, you can really do anything because all of your life is a sell. I mean, making friends, it's selling your best self. I mean, you want your friends to stick around on your bad days too, but all of life is making the sell. It really is.
Yeah. And people will tend to say, for example, in showbiz, they're like, oh, I'm not in sales. I don't like sales. Well, you're in big time sales. It's all sales. Like you just said, Laura, you're selling yourself always.
Absolutely. Even I remember my dance teacher. Oh, I apologize, but I was going to say, I remember my dance teacher telling us when we were doing the dance moves, like sell it, sell every move that you do. Everything has to be sold to the audience.
Yeah. And, tell a story is the Girl Scout cookie story. And it seems like parents though, and maybe it's more so with girls than boys, I don't know, but protect them from that. When the girls set up, the last time the girls set up their cookie stand outside the Central Market here, I walk in, I'm a sucker for Girl Scout cookies, and I walk out, I have a $50 bill ready to buy cookies, but I will not buy any cookies unless the girls, not the moms, stop me and try to sell to me. And I have yet to buy Girl Scout cookies over the last couple of years.
Crazy. Hear that, Dallas? There's a man with $50 wanting cookies. Go find him.
Wow.
Yeah, and it just seems like there's this the moms are protecting the girls or something. It's like not teaching that talent, that skill of how to interact and sell.
I wonder if part of that is they're not teaching them because they're not comfortable with it.
That, and also that it's partially the mom wanting to win. Like this mom that I talked to, she pridefully told me how her daughter always sells 900 boxes of Girl Scout cookies, which is pretty amazing. And I'm like, well, is this about you or is this about your kid learning the skill? You
Absolutely.
know?
Interesting.
All right. So we could talk about cookies all day, but I do want to move on to, Laura has just so many amazing things to talk about, and I want to make sure we get to at least most of them. So a big dream of mine when I was a kid was I wanted to be a Rockette so bad. And I think there's a lot of little girls out there that look at the Macy's parade and they just wish they could be that Rockette. And Laura had the opportunity to be a Rockette for several years, which I secretly am just so jealous of because I was too short. But tell us about the experience of becoming a Rockette, Laura, and what that was like, and maybe one or two things about what the girls out there listening or the moms of the girls who are in dance might want to know to get their girl there.
Sure. Well, first of all, you weren't the only one who was too short. So was I. But I am a big believer of where there is a will, there's a way, which ironically or not, my mom had that cassette tape when I was younger. So maybe I was listening to all these things when I was really young because my mom was listening to them. But I really believe, where there is a will, there's a way. And nothing in life is going to be handed to you. But if you're going to work for it, you can accomplish it. Or you might find another avenue along the way of that hard work that says, no, this is really what I want and what I'm more suited for. But the Rockettes for me was, since I was 3 years old, it was my end all be all. I was going to be a Radio City Rockette, come hell or high water. It was going to happen. And what happened was I was, first of all, in kindergarten. I don't even think I was in kindergarten. I think I wasn't even there yet. I was at my babysitter's house. There was a Good Housekeeping article pinned on the refrigerator of a leg workout. And there was a kick line of the Rockettes. And I was fascinated. So my babysitter told my mom that I stared at that all day. And my mom later showed me the Radio City Rockettes on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And that was it. I was done. I knew at that moment, and I'm one of these people in life that when I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So I grew up taking dance, grew up everything along the way. I was going to be a Rockette. So I joined the local performing group, going to be a Rockette. Got my first professional dance gig at 16 years old. I'm going to be a Rockette. Moved to New York City. I'm going to be a Rockette. Get to the first audition. I'm not tall enough. And I'm like, what? Don't you guys know? This is my dream. I told everyone I'm going to be a Rockette. So anyway, there's this whole urban legend about a girl that put lifts in her tights that she maybe got at Sharper Image that were for men with height complexes. And I was a Rockette.
Ta-da. See, smart that they went in the tights, because I wouldn't have thought. I bet there's been plenty of girls that put them in their shoes. And
what is this that you put in your tights? What is it?
They're shoe lifts for men with height complexes. And they add about a half an inch to your height. And they go in men's shoes, but I trim them down. I put them inside my dance tights, and I cut a slit in the arch of my tight so that when I would sit by my dance bag, I could pop them out, because as a dancer, you really have to feel the floor and your shoe and control your foot and be able to point, which you couldn't do in those lifts. So I also did my research. I knew who designed the Rockette shoes. I had the exact same shoes made a half an inch taller. Every year when the Radio City would issue me my shoes, I would put them in my dance bag and pull out my half an inch taller heels.
Awesome.
I'm committed to the cause. When I say I'm going to do it, guys, I'm going to do it.
I love it. And, that's a great message for anybody, because I think people tend to, and clearly, I guess I'm one that, you find out what the limitations are and just go, oh, I guess it's not for me. And, I guess I didn't want it bad enough. And I just love that story. I love that I know you. Was it like the best experience ever? Is it super hard? Was there anything, that stood out, like a moment that you remember about being a Rockette?
So many things. It was the hardest audition I've ever been a part of. It's grueling. There's a thing called boot camp for new Rockettes. because the entire stage, I call it Battleship for dancers. Everybody played that game Battleship. The entire stage is a grid. So every piece of choreography that has to be exact, because they're precision dancers, you also have to be on your exact mark on the stage. You also have to be very good at math, because when you get your number assigned to you, which I was 16, which means left foot 1, right foot 6. So I'm 16 exact. Every single step may move, over 2, down 4, up 3, across 6, every single piece. So they don't tell you, hey, Laura, when we say move over 2, we're moving you from 16 to 14. The choreography is given to you at the exact time your movements are. So you're doing the math and learning the choreography and making sure you're doing it all at the same time. It's overwhelming, which is why they send the new girls to 3 days of boot camp first to learn the stage grid, because you can't look down at the stage while you're performing to say, am I on 16L right now? That's not how it works. But it was grueling. I took ice baths every night, and I had tears my first year of the show, tears rolling down my face, the last number, every single show, because I was so incredibly grateful to be there, for it to be everything I thought it was going to be. I had a superb experience. I loved the women I worked with. I loved that it was hard, that I didn't get there and it was like, oh, this is a piece of cake, because, I worked so hard to get there. I loved that everybody else that was there worked equally as hard. So it was great for me.
I love it. I cried the whole time when I finally saw it a couple years ago. I just was like, we were nosebleed and I was just like weeping, and got to go backstage and see a friend of mine I went to school with, and it was just awesome. So that was a springboard for, well, I don't know that was a springboard. I think your birth was a springboard to get you everywhere you've been. And now Laura is the CEO of JVZoo. And I know that was kind of a journey to get there. And so tell us about that.
Well, in my college years, when I was studying dance and majoring in dance, I also taught at a dance studio that was extremely successful. I believe they had between 600 and 700 students. And as soon as I got done with my college classes, I went and I taught from 4 p.m. until 9:30 p.m. every single night. And it was great. But at the same point in time, it was a realization for me that once my performing dance career was over, I would not be opening a dance studio. That was not my calling. And I knew it. I heard it loud and clear. I felt it in the core of my being. And I was like, this is my job in college. So when I left college and when I was taking other dance gigs, the entire time I took other jobs. Did I love them? No. Did they help me climb the corporate ladder? Absolutely. So anytime I hear someone saying, like, I hate my job, I hate it so much, I'm like, is it in your path? Because if it's getting you to where you want to be, suck it up, buttercup. Like, everybody's worked a job we don't like, so this is part of the process. If your end result is where you want to be, work the process, put the work in, pay your dues, get there. So I started in corporate America and I paid my dues. And I got to a point where I knew that if I was good enough, they would allow me to leave for 3 months out of the year to dance with the Rockettes, and they would welcome me back. Apparently, I got good enough that they also welcomed me back with a promotion. That was incredible, to leave for 3 months every year and come back and they say, oh my gosh, we're so glad you called us back. And also we want you to take this position with this much of a raise. I was like, heck yeah. I was loving it then. So I just climbed the corporate ladder. And then when I stepped out of dancing, when it was the end of my journey there, and I'm not going to fib there, I left at the top of my career before they asked me to leave. I did it intentionally. I never wanted the day to come where they told me I was too old. I knew my fragile ego couldn't take it. Know yourself, people. I've got an ego. She's a big one. So I just left then, and I stepped into my first executive position in corporate America when I left the Radio City Rockettes. So I had a beautiful transition that didn't come by accident. I worked my behind off the entire time. I worked 2 jobs and, 2 separate career paths. And I had a phase too, where I was a little jealous of other people. Like, I would look at girls in dance and I would see they were getting gigs that I wasn't getting, and I was a little jealous. And then I was looking at people in corporate America that were getting higher paid jobs than me, and I was a little jealous. But what I had to realize is that I was on 2 ladders at one time. I wasn't solely clinging to one ladder. I was on my path, and my path was not their path. And they deserved, when they were fully committed to only one path, to be further up the rung than me. So I had to kind of check myself and be like, it's great you love yourself, Laura. It's great you're your biggest fan, but you didn't deserve that. And eventually it all worked out.
For those who are not familiar with JVZoo, can you tell us more about the company?
Sure. So JVZoo is an online marketplace and a place for product owners to list their product for sale, but to get affiliates to go out and sell that product en masse for them. So a lot of people have things that they feel this could help the world or this could help people in my industry. They have no idea how to sell it. JVZoo has over 800,000 active internet marketers or affiliates who have lists of buyers ready to purchase. So if their product, the product you have for sale fits their list of buyers, they'll grab it and they'll go sell it for you for a percentage of the sale.
I worked for JVZoo for a while, and it took me a while to figure out what the heck was going on with it, like to understand the affiliate marketing thing. And I actually say this all the time. I said it to my husband the other night because he was having trouble figuring out an online site. I said, look, when I worked for JVZoo, the one thing I learned was how to figure stuff out online, because pretty much almost everything I was asked to do, I was like, I don't really know how to do this. And I would figure out how to do it. And I think that's a really great skill for people to have. And I'm trying to teach it to my daughter that if she doesn't know how to do something, you can find everything on YouTube. But there's a crazy community of internet marketers worldwide, pretty much every country in the world, right, Laura?
That's correct.
And it's a whole world of people that are hardworking, brilliant, creative people that want to sell a good product, and sometimes people put out good products, sometimes people don't, but it's a really interesting platform. And there was things on JVZoo from, fitness products to, of course, online tech solutions, which I think is probably the most popular thing, like techie solutions, but just everything, self-help and anything you can think of is on there.
My absolute favorite thing about JVZoo is that you can have people that said, that's it. I'm no longer working my 9 to 5. I'm fully committed to this. My side hustle is now my full-time hustle. I'm not working for anyone else. And they've built their business and they've made, millions and millions of dollars. Or you can have a stay-at-home mom who says, I just want to make sure that I can get my kid into this school and afford it. And so I need to make this much extra income. And I'm going to do it working at home on my computer. And I'm going to sell these products on my blog. Or we've even got people that are Broadway performers who just don't want to have to waitress in between their Broadway gigs. And this is how they supplement their income. So it works for everyone in the capacity that you want to make it work. And I think that's such a beautiful thing.
Do you guys teach that to people that know that they have some sort of content to sell but don't know how to do it?
So we have an introductory class that actually Rachel developed and put up. It's a free class that tells people, kind of takes them step by step through how JVZoo works. And then we have what we call JVZoo Academy, which is a paid for next level class to teach people how to use JVZoo, whether you are a product creator or an affiliate, or you have no idea and you're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and it seems it's one of those type of things that if you look at the people that are making millions, you're like, I don't know if I could ever do that. But it's like anything else in life. It's a bunch of simple steps. And we're talking a great deal of steps to figure out how the process works. But I just was watching Brett the other day on a video he made. And it was like, I commented on it because he said, the only way to really be successful in this business, and in all businesses really is what I said, is to develop your tribe. Create the relationships, create that know, like, and trust relationship with as many people as possible. And then when you put a product out on JVZoo or anywhere, then they're going to trust you that it's a good product and that you're worth, it's worth buying. Simple.
That's right.
Hey Warners, this is Gina Trimarco, and if you know Rachel and I, you know how much we love our beauty strategies, especially DermaVogue, where we both go to keep our faces looking younger and healthier. Every time someone says to me, something looks different about your face, I can't help but to tell them that the DermaVogue team, led by Dr. James Turek, has been offering the greater Myrtle Beach area the best in cosmetic and aesthetic dermatology since 2003. DermaVogue combines expert medical knowledge with cutting-edge technology, bringing their patients the most effective, flawless solutions to any skincare or cosmetic need. Some of the services to consider include Botox, skin peels, facials, BioT, and much more. I personally love and highly recommend their Botox and lip injections for making my face look younger and healthier, and for BioT for improving my energy, sleep, and weight control. At DermaVogue, they gauge you in the process of total body health to ensure your satisfaction with their comprehensive selection of the most up-to-date, non-invasive cosmetic dermatology and spa treatments. If you want to look and feel your best, DermaVogue can help you get there. Schedule your consultation today by calling 843-357-2444 or visit DermaVogue.com and tell them that the women your mother warned you about sent you.
So, Laura, one of the other things that I see that you do is talk a lot, write a lot, speak a lot about women's issues in the workplace. And I actually just pulled up something that you had here and underlined one of the sentences. It says, and just kind of reminded me of the Girl Scout thing, we're battling centuries of social constructs that tell us to be quiet. So talk a little bit about what you're seeing from your position as a CEO, a female CEO. What's changing? What's not changing? What are you seeing?
Sure. So as you said, I'm a big fighter for equality, and I want equality in all areas, but I can speak on what I know firsthand. And firsthand, I know the differences that women are treated in business. I've seen it my entire climb up the corporate ladder. I'm also a big believer, though, is play the game until you get in the position to change the rules. Don't just complain along the way. Get into a position where you can change the rules. And that's where I am now. And I'm doing my best to change the rules, to respect the women who have paved the way for me to get here, and to create an easier path for the next, generation of women coming.
So what kind of rules do you see changing?
Well, pay equality, that's a huge one. Yes, we're getting there, and some companies are a lot faster than other companies, but we're not there, and we're still over 200 years out from equal pay, which blows my mind. We're so progressed in so many ways, especially, first world countries. There's just no excuse for it anymore. There is a PhD in computer science, and she is my most educated employee. And she told me her husband's salary when we were negotiating salary, because I'm really big on name your salary. You tell me what bar you want to jump to every day. You set the bar and then jump there every day. If you fall, that's your fault. Like, you set your salary. I'm cool with that. So she told me what her husband made. And then she said, so I just want to make a little bit more than him, and asked for $3,000 a year more than him. And I gave it to her. I said, great. Because it was a win for me. It was a win for my company. And then I said, under one circumstance, we sit down and we review your salary in 90 days. In 90 days, I talked to her. She was happy. Everything was great. And I was like, how can you be happy? Your husband has his bachelor's degree. Kudos to him. You have your PhD in computer science. Did it cost more? Did you work harder? Have you worked longer? Do you have more experience than him? Can you code circles around your husband? She was like, well, yes. I was like, but that's only worth $3,000 a year more. So I think women still don't know how to ask for what we need. Now, that's not me, but a lot of women don't know how to ask for what they need, because it is centuries of being told, be grateful for the job, be grateful for the opportunity. You're playing in a man's industry now.
Yeah.
But you're more educated.
Yeah, that's terrific. I agree. And it's interesting because she set the market price based upon her husband, not based upon what she could do.
Exactly.
And that's not unusual.
It's not unusual. It's far too common. And it goes all the way back to the Girl Scouts. Asking for the sale, not your mom doing it. You have to ask for what you want in life. People can't read your mind. And even those that, like, when it's a child and it's an adult and we do know, if we don't teach it all the way from the beginning, people aren't going to be confident even after they've gone through years and years of education and years or decades of work. They still don't know how to ask for what they need.
And the worst that can happen most of the time is no. Like, if this individual had asked you for, let's pretend she still based it on her husband's salary. I wanted to take that out there, but just for example, let's say she said $10,000 above what he makes. That may or may not have worked for what she wanted, but at least she asked. And that go for no thing is terrifying. almost every
Absolutely.
time. And a lot of times you get what you want. It's crazy.
Yeah, I see that so much. That and you talk a lot about it. I'd love to hear your viewpoint on empowerment, and because you talk a lot about empowerment. So tell us a little bit about what you talk about there and how that works.
Well, if we get into the nitty gritty of this male dominant industry that I'm a CEO in, I'm the only female CEO in this industry. I'm one of the very few female executives in this industry. And for me, the events that we attend for years, they all ended up at the strip club. Well, I'm not trying to work higher up in my field. I'm at the top of my industry right now. And so I just opt out because I don't have a problem if that's what other people want to do. But for me, I don't need to do business in a strip club. And no one in my company needs to do business in a strip club. So when I had some new employees coming in that were in the industry when we brought them in here, one of the first things that they said when we were at events was, what do you mean I don't have to go to that event? And I'm like, if you choose to go on your own, that's your own choice. But as a representative of this company, you in no way, shape, or form need to be at a strip club ever for business. So I had women say, wait, I'm so used to it. Like I'm the sober one. I take all the notes. I'll remind you tomorrow what you need. And I was like, no, I won't be there and I won't be drunk either. So that's my prerogative. It's really interesting, though, to me to see women that are still confused about the fact, wait, I don't have to partake in that. Are you serious? I don't have to do that. And I am serious because I'm at the place where I can change the rules. And it is what I'm doing. I know what it looks like. I know what a naked female body looks like. I see one every single day when I get in the shower. So I don't need to be at the strip club. Like I said, if other people want to go there and do business, cool. But what I've realized,
I mean, Laura, not so many men have that option to see a naked lady every day. So
well,
they're not as lucky as
I
you.
understand. And that's what I said, to each his own, if that's what you want to do. But serious business and big business isn't really going down there. It's just not. And I've heard some horror stories in both this industry and other industries of questionable positions women were put in when they attended just to be a part of the business conversation. And I don't believe in that. Granted, when I was in sales in New York City and I worked my way up, did I experience all of those things firsthand? Yes. But it wasn't just for men. I'm, very big on the positions we've been put in aren't just for men. Women play a part in it too. And being compliant and not speaking up, that's part of playing the role of this is okay. I had a female boss send me on a mandatory dinner before in New York City that had nothing to do with the business. And once I got there, I started texting her saying, what is this? I thought this was a client. No, it was her mortgage broker. And she was like, you've got to get me a good deal. And I was like, oh, I feel sorry for you tomorrow. Yeah. And I did. I told the man right then and there, like, hey, we're here at dinner. And let me tell you how this is going to go. I'm going to order the most expensive wine on the menu, maybe 2 bottles. And you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for my dinner too. We're not talking about the mortgage. We can talk about whatever or nothing at all. But when this is over, I'm going to get in a cab and go back to my place. You're going to go back to your place. And you and I will likely never speak again, because I was furious. And yes, my boss was furious at me the next day. And I said, fire me. I dare you to. Because I've never been that compliant girl who's going to sit back and put myself in a position where my integrity would be compromised. Who I am would be compromised if I can control it. Lots of things happen in life that we can't control, but if I can control it, go ahead.
What did your boss do when you?
Oh, she was furious.
That reaction.
Oh, she was furious at me. She was furious.
This is a woman. Mm-hmm. This is a woman setting you up for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother topic.
Well, hold on a second. As a mortgage broker at this point.
Oh, here we go.
So my question is, though, she was hoping that you could get her a better deal?
Yes. I think that, I know that her credit was poor. And I think that she was hoping that some things were going to get shuffled around.
Which isn't even legal.
Gina, it's not another topic. I mean, this is, I think, a key topic. You mentioned there was a woman kind of promoting that position, and then Laura pushing back. And Laura has this quote: each time a woman stands up for herself, she stands up for all women. And sometimes as a man, we feel like, oh, we're being pushed as a male to change things. but it's not just the male gender that's promoting some of this culture.
No, it takes good women and good men to change it. It's not a male problem. It's not a female problem. It takes good people. Good people have to change the bad things that have gone wrong in the centuries of how we're supposed to, stand still and look pretty and not have a brain and not use our mouths and use our voices.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy for me and my standpoint is like, how are you going to pull, if you got crappy credit, it's not getting past the line of processors. They're going to look at it later. Like it's just that's actually, it shows a lot of ignorance on her part, aside from lack of morality, that she would think she could pimp you out to, it's crazy.
As a female CEO, do you experience very much gender bias or issues with other CEOs?
No, not other CEOs. Now, do I experience it with people in lesser positions than me? All the time. It's very interesting too. And it's usually the ones in far lesser positions. So I was at an event last year and it blew my mind because I was standing with a group of successful people. Everyone had, it was a good circle to be standing in at the time. And I was kind of listening to everyone and excited to be there. But there was this one man who would never look at me. He wouldn't even turn his head to acknowledge me, which I found strange because I knew him, like I knew him well. And finally, another man in the group interrupted him and said, "Hey, Laura Casselman, the CEO of JVZoo, right?" And you should have seen the look on his face, like it just changed instantly. And he turned and he was like, "Oh my goodness, Laura, I'm so sorry. I just thought you were a +1. And I was like, actually, the person standing by me is the +1. Like, because I was like, wow, you didn't even acknowledge me because I was a female. You wrote me off from being here because I was a female. And he was truly mortified and sent me multiple messages and called me multiple times over the next few days to say, "I'm ashamed." And I did tell him, I was like, "You should be. I'm not upset about it, but you should be." And not only that, but his CEO of his company is a female and she's killing it. She's rocking it. So am I. So I was like, wow, you didn't even turn to look at me. I was not even worthy of eye contact because I was a female standing in where he felt only the men should be allowed. Also, another thing that I get a lot are people that write me, when you run a public company, people find you wherever now online. They can find you on Instagram, LinkedIn, WhatsApp. They can usually find you if your number's on a business card. They can find you via email. They can find you on Facebook. And I get conversations from men that are actually users of JVZoo, people that I've never met before that will start it off with, "Hey, blondie," or, "Hey, whatever nickname, hey, cutie, hey, baby." It's all kinds of things that I will get from these men it's a bit mind-blowing and it's trying to knock me down a level so that they can then converse with me or ask me what they want to. And a lot of times I won't even respond. I just won't respond until you can communicate with me properly.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, what do you respond? I know you probably don't have time to knock them all back in their place because there's probably plenty of them, but good Lord.
Right. I don't take the time, but like there's one of our support girls is a female. She's female. And she started showing me the responses she was getting on the support tickets that she was answering with, and they were so derogatory. So I said, "Great, change your name. Change your name to a man's name. Change your profile picture when you respond to anything other than a female's picture." So she did. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, no one questions me anymore. Everybody accepts the answer I give them because I'm a man." And I was like, "That's right. Keep being that man."
Wow.
So Keith, how do we change this, Keith, amongst the men folk?
Well, I suspect it's not just the men folk that would be responding to that young lady with your support person.
Correct.
That are women are making the same assumptions based upon that.
That's correct.
And I think, Gina, you're going to hate this. I think you've heard me before, is that when you get that, you got to ask the question, "So why would you call me that?"
I don't hate that, Keith. There's nothing wrong with asking that question.
Because I think in any of those situations, to a degree, it's a power play. And the way you shift the power is by, instead of responding, you move it to a different place and you take the power. The person asking a question is the person in a power in a conversation. So instead of answering, and answering to their target, ask a question and put them and change the dynamics of it.
I like that. Sometimes people are just ignorant.
Definitely.
Because
they're programmed. They're programmed.
Right. That's what I mean. They haven't come up with seeing a woman in charge. They haven't come up, like when I first moved to South Carolina to take over a business and had to make vendor decisions, and vendors would come in and literally talk down to me and say, well, why don't you go talk to your boss and, see what your boss says? And I'm like, I am the boss. I'm making this decision. And a lot of these men said to me, we're just not used to seeing a woman be in charge down here.
Yeah, I think there's something about
bizarre.
Intent or not, and that's a really hard one to measure. But, sometimes it's very intentional and sometimes it's just programmed.
A lot of times when I attend events, like I told you last year, I was, in 11 countries flying all around because I try really hard to attend an event. Some things are cultural. Some things are. You're in a different country. There's a different set of rules. And I'm very good at educating myself on that, because another thing is there are certain countries where the nickname, no matter what, I'm going to get called Ma. I understand it's a cultural thing. I don't love it, but it's okay. It's not meant to be offensive. And so there's no sense in me getting my feathers ruffled over something that was never intended to offend me. There are times that I will, after I've answered the question, said, and my name is Laura, if you'll refer to me by Laura. Because if you don't ask for what you need, you're not going to get it. But there are other times where I've been at events that there's no difference in the culture. There is none. And it's interesting. I'll have men come up to me and they'll say, wow, you're so different in person than you are online. And I'll say, well, what do you mean by that? They're like, well, online, you're very direct and you're kind of cold, but you're really cute in person. And I'm like, oh, thank goodness I'm cute. Because I laugh about it and I'm like, no, I'm a busy woman. I don't have time to sit there and chit chat with you all day on Facebook Messenger because you have time. I have to run an entire company.
Wait a second. I don't think anybody would say that to a man.
What's that?
You're really cute.
I mean, men are very direct and to the point. And you could say the same exact thing to a man of like, oh, you're so direct and like, oh, you're actually cute. I don't think someone would say that.
I would to a guy.
You said that to me, Gina.
I think I have said that. I think I have said that to a guy, but I get what you're saying, Gina, but
I knew you for a while, Keith, before I said you were cute.
Oh,
you
nice.
are cute. And you know what else, Keith? I was noticing that you're pretty intelligent for a cute guy.
Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate that. It's true.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
You're smarter than I expected. I mean,
Lordy.
but we all know that you're Gina and Rachel's +1.
It's true though.
Lordy.
I love that.
Well,
I'm just hanging on. All I'm trying to do is just hang on.
Hang on tight. But what's most interesting about today's world is that women like you, Laura, and other female CEOs and all the women that have gone through the quagmire of BS that, women have gone through to get to power positions, has set us up to be able to respond how we want. Like nobody's going to be surprised in today's world if you respond in a way that defends yourself as a woman. And I think that a lot of times women just don't do that yet. Like, example, I was speaking to my husband about going to realtor events, events around town, and there's a female that works for him that was giving a little pushback about going to the events because she is a very beautiful woman. She's a very intelligent woman. She just didn't like getting hit on all the time. And he was asking me about this, and I said, oh yeah, you kind of have to just, like you said, Laura, play the game until you can change the rules. And, I go to events all the time and businessmen, they'll come up and they hit on me and I'll just listen and and then say, "Are you done now?" "Okay, great. So now we can do business." Like, I just shatter it because I'm like, come on, really? Like, I know I'm a beautiful woman. I actually work pretty hard to look this good. It's not, just doesn't come naturally. And can we move past that and do business?
Absolutely.
But I think a lot of women just get kind of, and I'm speaking for just, that instance that sometimes women will be like, "Oh my God, he hit on me." Like, if you're a beautiful woman and you work hard and do a little this and that to get yourself to look good, it's okay if they acknowledge it. It's just, if they cross the line, that's another story, of course.
And again, it's not just men, it's women too. Women will treat you differently because you're pretty, or that, and it's so subjective. What I find attractive, the next person doesn't. So who knows who we all think is pretty and not pretty, right? Who cares really? When you're looking for a mate, great. You want to find someone you're attracted to. But in business, like, who cares? I don't care what you look like. Can we get the job done, and can we do it well, and can we do it with integrity? Great. Like, let's do business together. But if we can't, I don't care that you were the way you looked. So I find it very interesting when women as well will treat you differently because of the way you look.
Good point.
Mm-hmm. Rachel and I, we get it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I remember Paige Spiranak talking about that.
Yeah.
The women's PGA.
Oh yeah.
From the other women.
It's such a shame. And it's usually too unsuccessful women who hate other women who say, "Oh, well, who did she sleep with to get there?" Or, "I bet her knees are red." I've heard all of those things as well. And it's so funny because I'm like, well, honey, if you would just open a book, it'd be amazing what you could learn. And, I have even tried, we have an interesting world right now because of social media. There are so many opportunities that come with social media, but also so much negative that comes with social media. Like, for instance, thinking that's someone's highlight reel is like they live the best life in the world. I can't tell you how many times I was on a flight just thinking like, "Oh my gosh, my back is killing me from being on yet another plane." But I made it look cool on social media. Of course I did. I'm like, look at my seat that lies down flat and look, as a bed because I'm in first class. I totally did that. But it's, take it all with a grain of salt. Like, I do the same thing when I look at other people. I'm like, girl, I bet you're exhausted. What is this? Your 10th international flight this year? I know you're tired. I'm tired. Like, that's the way I look at things. But it's kind of just crazy that we look at these highlight reels, but also that people can really and truly influence others because of these highlight reels. And I have seen businesses pop up overnight because they're great photos on Instagram, right? And that in itself is a skill. But if you are misleading people with your lack of business knowledge that you are now spitting out over your Instagram stories or your Facebook stories, that's an issue. And some people that I know, and I know them well, like even some things I'm like, oh, gosh, should I reach out to this person and say, that's actually, you're misunderstanding it. Let's just clarify this before you mislead others and take them down that path with you. But the reality is that people don't want to know. They don't want to know. That they just want more people to follow them, and they want more people to buy whatever it is they're selling of how to grow their Instagram course or how to, follow me and you can run your business like me, because even though I have no proof of it, I've turned my 100,000 Instagram users into a 7-figure business when really they haven't. There's just a lot of misled and misguided people out there because they think that the highlight reel is real.
That sounds like a whole nother podcast. That could go on and on forever. But before we go down that route, we have a few closing questions that we like to ask all our guests that are fun. Laura, how would you define the word sexy?
Ooh, I think sexy is doing it your own way. Doing it the way that makes you feel most comfortable in your skin, where you are in your own element.
Love it. And would you describe yourself as a woman your mother warned you about?
Oh, yeah. This mouth doesn't stay quiet, y'all.
Do you think it's all about the mouth, though? What else would describe a woman your mother warned you about?
Well, I think it's not just talking, it's having something to say that other people actually can learn from and grow from, or take and further make it better.
Love it. What is the best advice that you have been given?
Ooh, got it when I was young, and it's so true. And I got it in the dance world, but it applies to everything I've ever done. I was in a dance class at a convention, and the instructor was so frustrated because there were a lot of people in this advanced class that didn't belong there. And he looked around the room and he finally said, you look around the room, you look. And if you can't find one person that you're doing better than, and one person that you're doing worse than, you're in the wrong room. And that I think applies to so many things in life. There are very few moments in life where it makes sense to be the worst in the room or it makes sense to be the best in the room. There are some, but there are very few moments where that should continually be your room. You always need to be growing, and you always need to be able to look back and say, that's where I came from. But if you are consistently in the room where you're the best, you're not growing, you're stagnant. And that is an awful life to live.
Awful life full of a lot of ego that's probably causing problems.
I was going to say, my ego's big, but she's not that big.
Yeah. So that's great advice. And last question, what would be your greatest piece of advice for other women?
Oh, I think is that we have to ask for what we need. We have to speak up. We can't be just complicit in everything and then expect things to change. They're not going to.
Love it. Keith, Gina, any other last questions for Laura?
Not a last question, but just to reiterate, and what you said earlier in the interview, you said this: if you don't ask for what you need, you won't get it. And I love that you repeated that here at the end. That's great.
Awesome.
Big takeaway.
Awesome. We are ready to say goodbye to the Warners and wrap up this show. Thank you, Laura, for being with us today. If people want to get to know you better, what is the best way to do that?
Well, you can see my highlight reel on my Instagram, the Laura Casselman. I try to put the best pictures of myself on there. I'm not going to lie. I don't put the ugly ones up. Or my website, lauracasselman.com.
I don't think you have any ugly ones.
Yes, I do.
Is that possible?
Oh, yes.
I guess we all have ugly moments. I know Rachel caught me in one of those last week.
You looked great, though. How hilarious. But, I did, over the weekend, I had the pleasure of doing the bridal show in Myrtle Beach with Charlotte. And it was so much fun. And I was so damn glamorous. I was like, don't ever want to take this off. So that it's that later that night when I took the makeup off, took the hair down, and I was looking at myself and I'm like, well, there's a change. It was a hilarious moment with myself. Like, hey girl, still there.
Have you ever watched that show Frankie and Grace with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin? And there's these two older women in their 70s. Their husbands are gay and they split up. So these two women are living together. But Jane Fonda had this whole scene because she's a cougar dating men in their 50s and she's in her 70s. And she couldn't understand why he wanted to be with her. And she literally starts ripping off her eyelashes, taking the pads out of her shoulders, wiping her face off, just stripping down. She's like, is this what you want?
Yes.
I
think every woman,
really
I feel like every single woman knows exactly what that's like because we do it every day.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, you're like, here I am for real.
I mean, I cannot lie. I live for getting home and putting my sweatpants on. I believe sweatpants are the best pants. I live for it.
So, ladies and gentlemen out there,
Amen.
find a person who is okay with you in no makeup and sweatpants.
That's right.
Just it doesn't matter who it is. Just find that person. Sometimes it's your dog.
And by the way, Keith is all about women not wearing makeup.
Oh yeah, I think
Keith?
makeup is for women and other women. Guys, it's like, what do you really look like?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My husband always tells me first thing in the morning how beautiful I look. And I'm like, oh my God. So I think he's trying to win some points with me, which he does every time.
Smart man. Well, it is time for us to wrap up. So thanks again to Laura, and thank you to all of our Warners for listening to this episode of Women Your Mother Warned You About. To connect with me, Gina Trimarco, directly, you can go to our website, womenyourmotherwarnedyouabout.com, or to Pivot10 Results, or to ginatrimarco.com, or see my highlight reels. everywhere.
Oh, yeah?
And to connect with me, Rachel Pitts, you can find me I'm rebranded, The Singing Lender, all over social media. And you can even get to my mortgage website via thesinginglender.com and find all our social media links and cool free downloads on our website, womenyourmotherwarnedyouabout.com. Keith?
Well, next time, Rachel, you need to sing that little bit about yourself.
Do you think that I have not been working on that? I'm trying to figure a little theme song.
Yeah, we'll have to work that in here. If you want to connect with me, sorry, no highlight reels out there, but you can go to LinkedIn and find me there.
I think we should make a highlight reel for you, Keith.
Oh, I live my own highlight reel, so I'm my favorite audience.
He's like, my life is actually this good, guys.
We get letters. The ladies want to see more of you, Keith. Just saying. Anyway, if you have not given us a rating or review yet on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, please do that. But more important than a review is tell your friends about us. They should be listening to this show. So if you love this show and there is a woman or another man that needs this, because, Keith gives some good advice for men too. If you know someone that would benefit from the show, please share that with them and tell them to listen to the show. We would really love that. And remember, for the best relationships, keep it real, raw, and relevant.
And a little irreverence doesn't hurt either.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, ladies.
This really will get serious soon.
Yeah, it doesn't have to. I don't think anybody wants it to be serious.